I am enough. I am Sarah LaJoy, and this is Becoming, a space for the woman who's been everything but seen. So, if you've been walking with me, then last episode we talked about how God changed my perspective. Not my situation, not my responsibilities, but the way I see things. And honey, when your perspective changes, your life, it doesn't get louder. It gets quieter, more intentional, more discerning, more clear. And one of the biggest places I've seen that change show up is within my circle. So let's talk about it. When we hear growth, we think that it's going to feel exciting, a new mindset, new habits, new energy. But nobody really talks about this part, the growing pains, I'm going to call it. Sometimes growth, it feels like certain conversations that don't hit the same. Certain people don't feel the same. And certain spaces just don't fit the same. And it's not always because something went wrong, but sometimes because you changed. And one of the hardest things I've had to learn to really accept is that not everyone deserves to be included. And that was hard for me because I'm just naturally the person who wants everyone having a good time, who wants everyone there, everyone laughing, enjoying themselves. That's just who I am. But I had to grow into understanding that everyone can't come with you everywhere. And not because I don't love people anymore, but because not everyone comes with the same intentions. Some people don't love you, to be honest. They love what you bring. They love the vibe, the energy, the experience. And hell, sometimes they even love the access to what you're willing to share. And once I started recognizing that, I had to make peace with moving differently. Now, don't get me wrong, because in a lot of cases, it's no love lost. We might still kick it, but just kick it quarterly. Because proximity is a privilege. But there's also the situations where, baby, you couldn't even get a fake smile out of me. And it's not me being bitter or hateful. That's just me still being Sarah, honest and aware, and no longer forcing energy where it doesn't naturally exist. Because when God changed my perspective, honey, he changed what I'm willing to tolerate. And that's when I realized something, that access to me is no longer automatic. It's intentional. Everybody can't sit at the same table in my life anymore. Some people are meant for the dinner table. Some people are meant for the Texas Roadhouse table. And some people are meant for the front porch. Still love you, still respect you. But we're just no longer in the same spaces. And that's not rejection, that's alignment. And another thing, something that sat with me this past week, I was watching church, catching up on my sermons, and I was listening to Don't Let Them Break You with Darius McClure. He said, the more valuable something is, the less access more people should have to it. And that hit. When I tell you, I was on the treadmill while I was listening to that. I could have started shouting on that treadmill, y'all. Because we protect what we value. We don't leave our doors unlocked. We don't hand over our bank information to everybody, to anybody. And we don't just let anyone walk into our homes. So why give unlimited access to our lives, our energy, our peace, our space? Honey, protecting your peace, that's not being difficult. That's recognizing your value. And another thing that has shown up for me is learning to be okay with being misunderstood. And that was not easy. I'm not going to hold you. It was not easy because I'm the type of person who wants to be clear. I want you to understand my heart. I want to make sure there's no confusion. But I had to grow into realizing that clarity is only received by people who are open to it. And everybody is not. And I had asked myself, why am I working so hard to be understood by someone who already decided who I am? Baby, that'll wear you out. So now I don't rush to correct every misunderstanding. I don't feel the need to fix every narrative. Because some people who are meant to understand me, because the people who are meant to understand me, they will. No question about it. And the ones who aren't, no amount of explaining would have changed that anyway. And that right there, it freed me. So I had a moment recently where something was said, something was done or whatever that would have normally irritated me. I would have addressed it, explained it, cleared it up. But this time I sat with it and I thought, this conversation is not producing any type of peace. This conversation is not bringing any type of value to my life. So I left it alone. And in that moment, I realized that maturity is not always saying more. Sometimes it's saying nothing at all. And this is where it really gets real, because when your perspective changes, your relationships change too. And it's not always because people leave, but because their role in your life changed. Some people who used to be your go-to, now they're just someone you check in with. Some people used to know everything, and now they don't even know if the sky's blue. And some people used to influence your decisions, but now they just don't carry that weight anymore. And that's not disrespect, that's discernment. I was that person who used to think that relationships had to stay the same, but I was gullible. I was dumb. Because how can a relationship stay the same if you're changing? If that person on the other side of the relationship is also changing? No. And we're meant to grow. We're meant to change. And if we're changing, the relationship has to change. Sometimes people leave. Sometimes God adjusts. And we're busy holding on to those people in those same spaces. No, it gets hard. It gets discomforting. It grows tension. And that's usually a sign that something is shifting. When your perspective changes, your appetite changes. You start craving different things. You choose peace over noise, clarity over confusion, and depth over surface. And naturally, you just start aligning with people who carry that same energy. And that's when your circle starts feeling lighter, healthier, more intentional. But I also want to say this, because I don't want it to come off like everyone around me just fell off. I didn't got here and I don't, it's just me. Because that's not the case. For the most part, my circle has actually acknowledged my growth. They see the changes in me. They respect it. And they support it. Hell, they're proud of it. Even if we're not always on the same path. And that's what I love about the people around me. Because real support, it doesn't always look like agreement. It looks like, girl, I see you growing, and I'm not going to hold you to who you used to be. And that kind of support is rare, but that kind of support is beautiful. So if things have been feeling off lately, just a little different, if certain conversations just don't hit the same, and certain people don't feel the same, don't panic, because it doesn't always mean that something went left. Sometimes it just means that God is aligning your environment with your growth. And maybe, just maybe, the shift that you've been feeling lately, it isn't lost. It's God teaching you that who deserves access to the version of you that He's been growing. Honey, I refuse chaos because I believe my life has purpose. With every story I share, and maybe, just maybe, that shift that you've been feeling lately, it isn't lost. It's God teaching you who deserves access to the version of you that He's growing. I refuse chaos because I believe my life has purpose. Every voice I share, every story I tell is so she walks away with something. I love y'all real bad, real bad.